difficult, challenging day today. I think overall there was just a feeling of just being unwell. It's probably the only way I can try and describe it. And in some ways I could probably describe what my mind wasn't capable of doing, which in itself may describe the limitations I was feeling today and still am. So I was feeling very mentally weak, could sense a huge sort of fatigue in the mind, and and perhaps there was a feeling of, as well as unwell, I could sense I was feeling very low as well. And I think an analogy came to me where, it's almost as if I'm trying to play music on a broken guitar, and music is the only thing that's understood, and so it makes it so challenging to get help and even just to explain to somebody how I'm feeling, because just almost to try and explain it becomes extreme, it becomes painful, because there are no words, that there's no sentences and paragraphs that the mind can, what feels like a broken mind, can put together to express. So going back to the analogy of the guitar and music, everyone's asking for the song chord, how are you doing? And there's no broken strings, that's all that there is. And of course this can't be seen. They just see the guitar or know that it's there, but and as painfully even to myself, it's, I think what makes me feel unwell a lot is the inability to assess the mind and how I'm doing. You just sense a big dark cloud of unwellness or feeling unwell, but I can't penetrate the cloud and, pull it into bite-sized pieces for myself to understand or for myself to express to somebody else. I wanted to record this a bit earlier, so I find sometimes it's really hard to remember, even a few hours ago, how I was feeling, and but I do remember that there was a thought of wanting to get outside to do some writing, something that I've not been able to do for the past few days. And again, it was that balance of not pushing myself too much, and I just ended up just listening to myself again today. I just took things as they came, and I had the initial plan to go to a library, which is probably about a 45-minute walk, maybe a bit more, and there's some hills as well, so it's quite a tiring walk. And that just seemed really painful to me. I just didn't have it in me to do that. So I'm grateful, as I was sitting down, that there was a thought of, how can I make things easy for myself today? and I thought, okay, I can go to like a cafe that's fairly close by. That's like about a 15-minute walk or so, and I allowed myself to think, there's no failure here from my original plan, that I've just made an adjustment, and again I thought, when I get there, it'd be good for me not to have any expectations, because I was feeling so unwell that I thought, just get there and do some writing. It doesn't matter how much. And I think the journey there just took up all of my energy. It really did. I didn't shower today. I just washed my face and brushed my teeth, and that took a huge amount of effort to do that. And I did my rehab exercises on my foot, which was literally a monumental effort to do that. I was physically exhausted already, but mentally, to get myself to do it, it was really an effort. It took all of my strength to do that, and I was a little worried that, where I've mentioned this before, I've only got a small amount of stamina for putting in effort to things, and I was just worried that all of my kind of energy was expended in just getting myself to try and do the foot exercises, and I wouldn't be able to get outside and write. But thankfully, after doing that, I just rested for a bit, and just again, which is when I had those thoughts about just going to a cafe instead. And as I got outside, I was extremely sensitive to the light, and it almost felt like I was, that I'd been drugged almost. I was just sort of plodding along, really exhausted, and mentally almost felt like I was just swimming almost mentally, like I just couldn't. It was just, I just felt this huge haze overcome me as I was walking along, like someone had given me something, and it wasn't like a relaxing feeling. It was just a feeling of being. I've never been drunk, but it was something was a bit impaired. I guess in my case, it was, I could feel my mind being impaired. So it wasn't really crisp and taking in things in a sharp way. And, everything was like a slow blur almost. So I listened to some ASMR as I walked. I had my noise-cancelling headphones, which were really useful, and that kind of took the edge off. I tried to put my attention on that, and just slowly, almost just plodded along, really, as best as I could. And when I got to the cafe, I was trying to decide where to sit, and I saw that there was a booth 3, and so I kind of walked around a bit and came back to the booth, and then I noticed a lot of the other booths were all taken. Most of them were taken by just one person with a laptop, and it was a 4-seater booth, and I almost had an anxiety about that. I thought, well, if someone comes in, a group of people or a family, then there's no real comfortable seating, and so I took this single table on another place. The chair wasn't amazingly comfortable, but so yeah, there was a bit of anxiety about that. Maybe it was just I don't say this in the sense that I did a good thing by not taking the booth and all of that. It was more just perhaps the sensitivity or the awareness, the acute awareness of that. I'm not sure if that's just part of my health or if other people would have noticed that as well. And for me, it was a worry away. Like I didn't want to be that, and also I was paranoid about the staff saying mentioning or not liking that I've taken a booth, even though everyone else was probably fine with taking a booth without a second thought, just them with their laptops. But I just didn't feel I just wasn't able to do that, even though it'd have been a lot more comfortable in the booth. It's quite contained and there's like a panel behind and in front, so you're almost in this little kind of carriage, I'd feel a lot more safer. But I ended up picking a table and sat, so I was facing the walls, so that was good. And I was able to stay there for over an hour and do some writing. And it sounds like a long time, the hour, but a lot of the hour I was probably just going in and out of thoughts and some daydreams, and I may have only edited a few paragraphs of the writing I'm working on. So it was very, very slow going, but I did find that there was some value there was some meaning to that hour also, of some importance to it, of the work I did, even though it did take a long time to do a small amount. But there was I was able to kind of read the sentences over and over, and just I could sense my mind not working, or my mind being far from full capacity. So I was kind of aware of that as I had to go over the sentences several times to the sense where they could be improved, or where the writing can become crisper, or if there's repetitive words, or is there commas where there should be, and does it read okay? And just kind of going through this filtration of the writing, almost at a low mental capacity. I could sense that in me, but I almost gave up actually initially. Just felt it was too hard. I just felt like it wasn't the craft of writing. Like I'm so far away from writing, clean, crisp prose, which is one of the biggest parts of writing from a technical standpoint, the technical aspect of writing, which is a big part of editing. And I found it just felt like, what's the point of me trying to do this where I can only put in a subpar effort, or what I end up with is just not a project that's good enough to send to an agent. But then I think something kicked in where I got a bit of a groove of just getting lost in the prose in a healthy way, and the technical aspect of the writing, of reading through, kind of allowed the prose or the sentence I was working on, or just to go through me over and over, and just to sense, okay, do you know what, I could leave this word out, I could rewrite it in this certain way, and that which feels cleaner. So eventually there was some work done, and I was deciding whether to stay for longer to read, but I thought I'd been there for about an hour and a half or just under, and I thought it'd be good to get outside to the park, which is close by to me, and I thought I could read in the park. So that was a nice sort of choice or decision I was able to make, and I kind of wanted to get out of there as well. I just felt like I had enough of being in there. So I walked to the park and started reading the book that I got out, that I mentioned several episodes ago, where I spent a long time trying to pick it out, and I finally started reading it today. And was really enjoyable. Really enjoyable. The first few pages. It was almost exactly what I was looking for in that sense, where it wasn't my usual kind of crime, gritty, dark, thriller or anything like that. It's just it's away from that, but enough of what I read to kind of thought, oh yeah, I'm connecting with this book, which is all I could ask for, really. Just dialing into a story and connecting with it, and so it's a nice feeling to have. So perhaps a good idea would be maybe to, which I might do after this, is to make a note of this author, and gradually, as I come across other books that I connect with, and make a note of that, and it may help my future reading a bit easier when I'm in the library, where I'm not just lost out at sea trying to find a book. I mean, some of these authors may allow me just to find more books from them, or build up a little bit of a list. I think that might be handy for me. And I think like the caffeine helped as well. I think having that coffee just gave me that extra mental energy that I'm lacking. So I've always been sensitive to caffeine, and I can sense it now, that as well as physically, but mentally it gives me a bit of a boost as well. And of course, the other side of it, if I have too much caffeine, then it induces like extreme anxiety and become very sort of jittery and very overstimulated with the mind. So kind of to be wary of that as well, of how much I've eaten and how much coffee I've had. When I got back, I had a bit of maybe partly the caffeine, maybe partly of the momentum of doing some writing, the momentum of getting outside on a difficult day, momentum of doing some reading. That when I came back, I had had the idea that I would record a podcast episode and I'd record a vlog as well. I thought it'd be nice maybe to get out for a short walk in the evening as well. This may help me do that too, so I can upload this. So that's good. I've had like a really, really tough start to the day, and kind of in the middle of it, I guess, with the writing, going to the park, and here now recording. It feels like it's still hard, but it's helped to kind of have these activities. And after this, maybe it's important to rest, to acknowledge what I've done today, and I think that's a big thing for me to do now, just to acknowledge, the smallest of things, and how for me that they're huge achievements or huge sort of things to take note of, to really feel and connect to what's been done. I think that's something that I can try and do a bit more, because I feel so disconnected from anything that I sort of achieve in a day. So maybe there could be a little bit of reflection. Doesn't have to be maybe a big process where a rigid thing where like I have to write certain things down or this and that. But I wonder if it's just even just a few moments of just reflecting on my day, and just maybe remembering and reliving what I've done. That might help me just connect to that, rather than just forgetting or dismissing it and then moving on to the next, or trying to move on to the next thing. I can already sense it's going to be hard to do that. So maybe subtlety is the way to go, just to subtly acknowledge the day that's happened so far. And so I've got it's kind of late afternoon here now, so I've got the evening to manage, to almost to go through. Seems like a chore, evening times, or a difficulty for me. So perhaps, maybe just to brainstorm some things, whether they happen or not, but just potential things I could do is do some more reading. Maybe even a tiny bit more editing, because I felt like dialing back into it today, it's kind of wanting me to do it more. So perhaps I can do 5 minutes of editing, or 5 minutes of reading, something like that, and let that go afterwards for how long I want it to. I've got to take care of dinner tonight, of what to do, and pick a good time to eat as well. Hopefully that will be okay, because I haven't really, food's been a bit up and down today, where I didn't have any breakfast, so kind of late morning, early lunch, I just had some noodles. I made some noodles yesterday. I was not a huge fan of stir fries, but I think I bought it just to be healthy, and it was just a quick thing I could make. So I had that before leaving for the cafe, and then when I got back I had some of that as well, because I knew I was a bit hungry, and I didn't want to eat anything too heavy, because then that will affect what time I have dinner tonight, and that will affect my sleep. And talking about sleep, I went to bed late last night, and as I was feeling really unwell today, I was just like, how much is this to do with sleep? Because that's something it's really important for me to get on top of that. I think it's good. I'm glad I mentioned it now. That's one kind of almost a top priority for me tonight, is to get myself to bed at a good time. I feel like it just really doesn't do me any favors. I have a feeling that sleep definitely plays an important part to my mood. I felt like if I got a good sleep, or a reasonable sleep last night, then I definitely think I wouldn't have, I'd still probably have had a difficult day, just judging on past days and weeks and months. But I can imagine the intensity or severity of it perhaps wouldn't be as much. So again, it's just trying to be a bit proactive and responsible for the things that I can try and have some influence in. And who knows, I may go to bed late again. This is part of me being unwell, where certain things just happen and I lose perspective, or I'm unable to stick to like rigid routines at the moment. There's so much dysfunction and so much turbulence, so much static, but I can still try and do what I can. It goes back, it reminds me of the writing, even with the diminished sort of capacity, mental capacity, I'm still trying to do what I can. So again, it's not being perfect, but just having that as an aim or direction for tonight. That's all I can do. I can't. I feel like anything more rigid than that will just cause more stress for me. So and I may watch a film this afternoon as well. That's something that could be a good reward for me, good thing to relax with as well. There's a film I came across that I may watch, and yeah, I think a good intention for tomorrow is just to see how my mood is when I wake up. I feel right now, even though I've walked to this library before, it's quite a far walk, just see how I feel tomorrow. If I feel vulnerable and unwell, then if it feels at all too much, and I can adjust. There's another cafe that's just, that's an option tomorrow that I kind of went past today. That could be, and that's close by, and that could be a gentle sort of option for tomorrow. Maybe I can build up to go into that library, which is a really far walk, and I've done it in the past, but it feels like perhaps it's good to acknowledge I'm almost in a sense rebuilding myself after a few very difficult days. So it feels like it's a bit more of a slower process where I can't just jump into where I was before. So yeah, just maybe fully take care of this afternoon, to be present, and take care of myself this evening. And yeah, I've got a rough, I guess, a very faint, rough plan for tomorrow to go to a cafe to continue writing, reading, getting some fresh air, a bit of exercise with the walking, perhaps. But yeah, I can kind of leave that for tomorrow morning, see where I sit tomorrow morning, and again, just take care of myself tonight.